the other forms of government imposed against the will of the people. Democracy aims to make leaders who conduct themselves as servants of the common good, not as viceroys of the narrow interests of the might. My dear compatriots, Nigeria faced the decision of untold gravity 25 years ago, whether to veer towards better destination or continue aimlessly in fog of dictatorship. We made the right choice then. We must continue with that choice now. As Nigerians, we must remind ourselves that no matter how complicated democracy may be, it is the best form of governance in the long run. We must also be aware that there are those among us who will try to exploit current challenges to undermine, if not destroy, this democracy for which so much has already been given. This is the great battle of our day and the major reason we specially celebrate this day as Democracy Day. The true meaning of the day is not to focus solely on the great deeds of the past that have brought us to this point. Yes, we pay eternal honor to those who laid down their lives, sacrificing everything to pave the way for the nation. I stand uniquely placed in this regard, and I was among those who took the risk to midwife the birth of our democracy. I am now a direct and obvious beneficiary of the fruit of those historic efforts. As a president of this nation, I am morally and constitutionally bound to preserve this precious form of governance. I vow to do my utmost best to protect your rights, freedom, and liberty as citizens of Nigeria. Even more than that, I pledge to do whatever is necessary to cement democracy as our way of life. Although the challenges are steep and multiple, I am grateful to lead Nigeria at this moment in our history and point in our democratic journey. I come before you also to declare that our most important work remains before us. The real test has never been whether we will rise to the challenge, the sling of misfortune and grievous pains of dictatorship. The real test is whether we shall lower our guards and fail to defend democracy as the shadow of despotism and its evident physical danger fade. I say to you here and now that as we celebrate the enshrinement of our political democracy, let us commit ourselves to the fulfillment of equally important counterpart, the realization of our economic democracy. I understand the economic difficulties we face as a nation right now. Our economy has been in desperate need of reform for decades. It has been unbalanced because it was built on the flawed foundations and over-reliance on revenue from exploitation of oil. The reforms we have initiated are intended to create a stronger, better foundation for future growth. There is no doubt that the reform has occasioned hardship. I feel your pains. Yet there are necessary repairs required to fix the economy over the long run so that everyone has access to economic opportunity. fair pay, and compensation for his endeavor and labor. As we continue to reform the economy, I shall always listen to the people and will never turn my back on you. In this spirit, we have negotiated in good faith and with open arms with organized labor on a new national minimum wage. We shall soon send our executive bill to the National Assembly to enshrine what has been agreed upon as part of our law for the next 5 years or less. In the face of labor's call for national strike, we did not seek to oppress or crack down on the workers as a dictatorial government of the past would have done. We chose the path of cooperation over conflict. Nobody was arrested or threatened. Instead, the labor leadership was invited to break bread and negotiate towards good faith resolution. Reasoned discussions and principled compromise are a hallmark of democracy. These themselves shall continue to animate my policies and interaction with the constituent part of our political economy. I take on this vital task without fear or favor, and I commit myself to this work until we are built a Nigeria where no man is oppressed. In the end, our national greatness will not be achieved by traversing or traveling the easy way. It can only be achieved by taking the right one. The words of American President Franklin Roosevelt sadly ring true, and I quote, "There are many ways of going forward, but only one way of standing still," and unquote. We dare not slumber, lest the good things awaiting our immediate future pass us by. We dare not plant our feet in the idle standstill in the middle of the intersection of hope and despair. We know the proper way forward, and we shall take it. The initial rays of a brighter tomorrow now appears on the horizon. An abundant future and our capacity to achieve that future lies within our reach. Democracy and the institution it begets over to take us to our profound destination. Let us board this progressive train together. And together, let us move Nigeria forward. Let's continue to keep the fire of democracy burning. Let's keep the torch lit for generations to come. May God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria and preserve our democracy. I wish us all happy Democracy Day.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what they blood.
I have fought very firmly
disease, natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honourable
You human trafficker.
Honourable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Driver, why you just dey jack us up and down like this now?
I hope nobody carry belle.
Why you ask oh?
Because this road where they see so, it no guarantee safe delivery.
We just dey vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Road so e no dey, light o usa, the infrastructure nko.
Telling them not to counterpunch.
Welcome to our delayed edition of Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. Of course, you know today is Democracy Day, and we had to hear from the #1 citizen of Nigeria. All the same, we're back to Sports Talk, and top on our bill this hour, qualified boxers to camp ahead of the Paris Olympic Games. And coming in from the world of tennis, Andy Murray beating the first round of the Stuttgart Open. In football, Ten Hag to remain as Manchester United manager. Details of these and many more will be yours when we return from the break. Stay with us.
Telling them not to counterpunch.
Welcome back. I have with me Kingsley Manuel.
Thank you very much for having me, sir. Very happy to be here this morning.
As usual, we'll start from the local scene where two African champions and a coach of the Nigerian sprinter, Consider Kanem and Sheon Ogunkoya, says the sprinter is ready to take part in the Athletics Federation of Nigeria's national trials coming up ahead of the Paris Olympic Games. This looks cheering. We need to have athletes going to the Olympic Games get involved in the national trials. This time, it will be taking place.
You know, he's back. You know, when it comes to Nigerian male athlete. Now, I think he's one of them. He's actually ranked 6, with the likes of, Ushokiri, the likes of Favor Ashe, and the rest of them. So for me, I think it's a good one for consider. Him being among the male athletes, ahead of the Paris Olympic, I think for me is a good one. We look forward to see him bouncing back, strongly after the injury.
Consider Kanem to be in action in Benin City in the next couple of days from now, and I will promise it should be a thrilling one, having top Nigerian athletes going to the Olympic Games partake in the local trials. On the leaders board, Consider Kanem, like you mentioned, is placed 6. Favor Ashe stands very tall in the first place position.
Yeah, Favor Ashe actually has been very fantastic. If you take a look at it, he's the fastest man in Nigeria at the moment. I think that's why, of course, he's been placed, in such a very impressive position. For consider being placed 6, we understand the man, of course, is just coming up to limelight. And when you take a look at his performance over time, you definitely give it up to him that, of course, he's one man that will, take the athletic, scene, by storm. From what we're seeing at this point in time, I think his first competitive outing at a very, huge stage was the All-African Games, and we hope to see him maybe at the Paris Olympic Games as well, representing Nigeria.
Well, still in athletics, let's see what's happening on the pitch. This time around, Nigeria's discus thrower Chioma Onyekwere looks to make a huge impression, yes, at the NYC Grand Prix and Nigeria's trials, which hold from the 16th to the 18th inside the same Samuel Samuel Stadium in Benin City. Kingsley, it's just standing on the podium in the next few weeks from now in Paris.
Yes, for Chioma Onyekwere, I think for me, it's been an impressive ride for her. We saw at the Ichan tournament where she put up a very impressive, performance, down there. And for me, I think she's done a lot for herself. We'll have so many discus thrower down here in Nigeria, but I think for Chioma Onyekwere, she has tried as much as she can, to distinguish herself, when it comes to this particular event. I think this time it's going to be an impressive one. She's already qualified for the Paris Olympic game, but
states including Bayelsa, Lagos, Oyo, of course, the Federal Capital Territory have been chosen by the Sports Ministry for camping exercises for Team Nigeria. But for boxers, action preparations will be in Ibadan.
Yes, not a bad venue. I think the Boxing Federation and the Sport Ministry, they've actually made every provision to make sure that the boxers get a favorable stay and a better preparation down there in Ibadan. I think for the Boxing Federation, it's been a huge rise for them. We saw what they did at the All-African Games. I do understand we expected most of for the boxers, to have gotten qualification, but most of them failed, to pick the ticket. And at the end of the day, we're now having just 3 of them, at this point in time. But at least half bread is better than none. Having 3 boxers representing Nigeria, in the Paris Olympic, at least will actually go a long way. Maybe possibly we might get at least maybe a gold or silver or a bronze medal among these 3 boxers when the Olympic game, of course, commences. So it's a good one. I think we've seen a huge rise, from the Boxing Federation. Over time, it's been a very huge setback, retrogression we've seen in boxing. But I think with what the Boxing Federation are doing now, they're trying most of the kind, of course, to be able to put themselves out there. We saw how they performed at the All-African Games. I think they took about, almost about 5 gold or silver medals, from that particular tournament, and this time they are not relenting. So for me, I think camping them at this moment will actually go a long way in helping them to prepare for the Paris Olympic Games.
Nigerian boxers ahead of the Olympic Games are to be camped in Ibadan. Talking about only 3 boxers representing Nigeria following the failure of most of the Nigerian boxers to meet up the qualification mark for the Olympic Games. 2 of these boxers will be camping in Ibadan, where they will sweat it out ahead of the Olympic Games. One is expected to be prepared in coming to the 2024 WTT contender event at the Koya Thomas Hall in Lagos. World table tennis star. She's actually number 7 in the world. Last year she was in Lagos and of course did win. And I think she has memory of that and bringing her back again to Lagos, Nigeria.
Yeah, she's actually, looking eager to get back to Lagos. She was very happy the last time, of course, she came down here. 17 years of age, and she's already doing something huge in table tennis, of course, for South Korea and for herself. But this time is for her to, come defend the title she won last time. But it's going to be a very tough one, for her this time around. And we'll look forward to see how far, she'll be able to go after putting up that impressive performance the last time we saw the table tennis championship in Lagos. And we must also give Lagos State, huge kudos, for being able to stage the table tennis championship the last time. And now they've been given the go-ahead, to also stage a competition. That means they have the best of facilities. And when it comes to organization, of course, it means top-notch. And that's why the, the World Table Tennis Federation is giving them that go-ahead to host it. So it's going to be an impressive one. We're going to be seeing the Nigerian table tennis players are also getting ready. But we'll see if she can come this time and defend the title.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed on that front. Table tennis, we now go to lawn tennis. And talk about lawn tennis reminds me that Andy Murray's first match at the grass court season ended in defeat. This is not good news for a lot of tennis people. Think that Andy Murray should be retiring. Losing in the first round at the Stuttgart Open it doesn't look too good for him. He's put a lot of games under his belt, but it looks like he's on the losing side this time around.
Yeah, I tell you, it's been a very difficult one, a huge struggle for Andy Murray. 37 years of age, and the man, and I think strength is not really by his side. Ever since he had the hip surgery, it's been a very huge struggle for Andy Murray, at this point in time. We'll see him not getting far in any tournaments. You see him being ousted out either in the first round, second performance. You say that, he doesn't have the strength anymore. He doesn't have the time. Time is not actually by his side, for him to continue. And for me, him calling secret, I think, would be the best thing he's going to do for himself at this point in time. This is his in time. We're not seeing energy.
Do you think Andy Murray beam light will as well affect Emma Raducanu after 2 or 3 years ago, where she surprisingly, came as, an unseeded player to win the U.S. Open? She's,
from her, at this point in time. We saw a certain Naomi Osaka in the French Open. After she just came back from maternity leave, she was able to compete. That's a nursing mother, coming to compete for the likes of Iga Swiatek. So I see no reason why Emma Raducanu, who has not given birth, who is still a very young girl at a very young age, struggling at the moment. We expect, to see a lot from her. Ever it's been a downward, progression for her of not seeing us, that sparkling Emma Raducanu we saw when she won that Grand Slam. So we hope that, I hope that with this particular tournament, she'll be able to find back her mojo and see how she can strengthen back, her serve and her hands and her ability at this time.
Let's quickly now go to football. And talking about football reminds me that bigger teams. This could happen at this year's Federations Cup. Meanwhile, the final matches in the Nigerian National League Super 8 playoff will be, of course, up at 2 venues as well.
Yeah, it will be up at 2 venues, and we're going to be seeing, how this one, of course, will pan out. We understand that Nasarawa United, they've really gotten an impressive run, in the competition. They played 2 games. They've actually had 6 points at this moment, and just a draw for them will bring them back to the Nigerian Premier Football League. So, as for membership, for this particular one, and I think we must give kudos to the organizers of the NNL. They've done well. I think we'll begin to see a huge progress, when it has to do with organization of the league down here in Nigeria.
Well, aftermath of what happened at the Cathedral, there's the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu, the Nigerian Premier Football League is still getting to feverish stage. 3 games to go. Rangers awarded 3 points and 3 goals. It now looks like Rangers will be the team to stop at winning this year's Premier League title.
Yes, they will be the team to stop. They have about 3 games to go, just like you mentioned down there. And being after that, drama we saw at the Cathedral, and the NFF, the Nigerian Premier Football League Board, after their verdicts, of course, gave Enugu Rangers all 3 points and 3 goals in that encounter. Though they were fined a total of 5 million naira, while Imba were fined 10 million naira. But as it stands now, I think it really favors Enugu Rangers. Huge retrogression, for Rivers United under the interim manager of Vansugei. I think it's
they're coming off a win at the Adoke Messi Stadium.
Yeah, coming off a win at the Adoke Messi Stadium, but have to maybe look for a manager since the departure of Stanley Guma. I think from what we've seen Vansugei doing at this point in time, I'm not really seeing him to be the man, and of course, to lead the team, forward from what we're seeing. They've been a little bit of struggle for them. I will hope that they'll be able to at least grab a point away from home against Bender Insurance. Bender Insurance are also looking forward to maybe finish well in the Nigerian Premier Football League. So it's really going to be a very, very tough encounter, as it is. But for Enyimba Football Club, they will be at home. They'll be welcoming Bayelsa United. And from what it is, they really have to make sure they get a lot of personnel actually invaded, the pitch, and a lot of issues down there. Recently, in the last encounter, the match day 35, where we saw what happened at in Enugu at the Cathedral Stadium, where there were a lot of fans, because the game was a very high-class game. It was a game that would possibly determine who wins the league, and I think Enyimba FC, the MPFL board should see how to tackle this particular one, because it's been a recurring decimal. And I think for me, if they actually put up a means of tackling this, it will be a very good one going forward for the Nigerian Premier Football League.
Talking about going forward reminds me that fixtures for the qualification of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, especially in the Nigerian group, has been done and dusted for this year, because next fixtures comes up in March. But for now, we now know that South Africa had beaten Zimbabwe yesterday by 3-1, while Rwanda beat Lesotho by 1-0. This now puts Benin Republic on the top of our group with as many as 7 points, with the same as Lesotho. And are you asking about Nigeria and their position at the table? Nigeria, it has only 3 points. And
continue to play like this. Imagine drawing against Lesotho, drawing against Benin Republic, South Africa. How do you expect to win? What is the plan on ground? And for what it is, everyone is not happy with the manager, Finidi George, looking at his poor tactical prowess. A lot
of people have come, he has come under hammer from a lot of people. And sometimes I think they seem to be right. He seemed to have deployed the men poorly, especially in the defense line. First, he didn't invite the former captain of the team that went to the Nations Cup, William Troost-Ekong. And they were like, why do he wants to bring his own set of the players, his own players into the team, so to say. But we saw him, in some kind of poor tactical decision making, because a player like Brad Osai Samuel, you remember, this is a centre back, and he was played, in wrong position. He was played,
left back.
At the left back, and that looks like a 41. Of Benjamin Taminu, the only